Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Fluently Forward. Today, we are going to be covering the new Victoria's Secret. So basically, Victoria's Secret put out a new fashion show, and they haven't done one, I think, in like years and years, because if you listened to one of our previous episodes on here, all about Victoria's Secret and Les Wexner, and because of him, Jeffrey Epstein, you'll know that Victoria's Secret has been in some not sexy hot water for a really, really long time. Like everything from body uninclusivity, basically, to a lack of diversity, to horrible employee practices, to, cheaply made thongs that they would sell for roughly $45, which was like crazy. That was why so many people stole them, is what my friends say. Anyway, and then there was this kind of like Epstein connection, and it was just a house of cards that was ready to cave in. There was also another reason, which we'll talk about later, but there was an anti-trans comment made by one of the Victoria's Secret execs by basically saying the Victoria's Secret fashion show is a fantasy, and we can't possibly have trans models included in our fantasy, which doesn't make sense on every single aspect of what he was saying. So anyway, they ended up canceling the shows, but they recently brought them back to everyone's surprise, partly because it wasn't really rolled out in a very spectacular way. It seemed a little bit like all of a sudden this show was happening. A lot of people had notes on the show, but we also have new models that we need to gossip about, don't we? Because we didn't previously gossip about them in the first episode. There's also different models that are now new. And then I also think that we can kind of talk a little bit about the rebrand of Victoria's Secret. Is it working? Is it not working? Blind items on the models that we missed, and some of the drama between these models and celebrities. I mean, when I was going through this research document, I was like, the Victoria's Secret models are kind of woven into all different aspects. It's like the girls that they're friends with. It's the Hollywood men that they're dating. It's like a very twisted web that we weave. So let's dive into it. I'm excited. If you are watching us over on YouTube, you might see that I am dressed up in my Victoria's Secret gear, YouTube friendly edition. And I wanted to do so because I think everyone might not know, but I actually do have a past experience of modeling. So I'm going to be bringing my kind of knowledge expert sharing on the topic for this episode. If anyone doesn't know, I have had my photos shared widely on the internet. If you actually go into Google, you can see photos of me that millions of people have seen. All you need to do is type in nose job swollen. And there I am, right on the front page of Google Images with my swollen nose job for everyone to see. It is kind of related to the episode because Candace Swanepoel has allegedly gotten 2 different nose jobs. So we have that in common. Now, before we get into specific thoughts on the show, just one last thing to wrap up on Les Wexner. And I really suggest you check out our original episode all about him and Epstein and their Victoria's Secret connections. It's public on Fluently Forward. But somebody was basically saying, after that episode dropped, I saw this comment. Someone said, I work really closely with someone who used to be high up at Victoria's Secret for about 20-ish years. This isn't exactly shocking tea, but in regards to the company's CEOs and their Epstein ties/allegations and harassment of the models, she told me, all before her NDA expired, that, quote, if they ever try to say they didn't know, they all fucking knew. She even went on to say that the Victoria's Secret documentary was super lukewarm and left out a lot, mostly because anyone with damning enough evidence or first-hand accounts was probably under strict NDA. Now, I will say that comment is a little bit intriguing to me because I think a lot of people, and we could do an entire episode all about like the truths and the falls is about NDAs. If something illegal happens to you, just because you have an NDA doesn't mean that you have to be like, oh, like he did this to me, but I have an NDA, so I can't say anything. And I don't like how people kind of talk about it as if that's true. If anything illegal happens to you, the NDA is fucked. It's not some sort of like trump card that like lets you get away with nefarious things. So anyway, we can maybe talk about that for another episode, but I just wanted you guys to know that. Okay. Before we get into the gossip of the models, let's talk about the latest show because it has been all over TikTok and social media. People were saying the hair was flat, it was dull, it wasn't giving what it used to give, and it was just missing the original Victoria's Secret sparkle. And there really is so much that goes into making a brand, right? Think of Victoria's Secret compared to The Gap. you think of them differently because there's a million fucking things that go into it, right? Even the font, the Gap is like a classic font. Victoria's Secret is swooping and cursive and vivacious. And the colors, Gap is like a navy blue and white. Victoria's Secret is like hot pink and pale pink and black. You think of the models, you think of the poses, you think of the clothing, you think of how the store looks. There's just so much that goes into a brand. And we talked about this a lot on our previous Victoria's Secret episode. This idea that Les Wexner wanted to create something that was like lingerie, but accessible, but it could be in a catalog form, but the store would look so sexy. And they did a really, really good job with the angels. And I think maybe we didn't even appreciate it as much as we did back then. The fact that these angels who were walking the runway were handpicked to be the best of the best, the sexiest of the sexiest. And it all kind of seemed like they were friends. And I'm going to talk a little bit about things that I think were missing from the show. But one of the things that I think was missing is kind of that friendship between the angels and the girls. You really did think of them, I don't know, like before hype houses were a thing. You just kind of thought, okay, you have the cast of Friends, you have the Victoria's Secret Angels, you have, I don't know, everyone who was in the Harry Potter movie. Like it almost kind of felt like a franchise. And what are franchises really good at? Making money, right? Now, obviously, this Victoria's Secret fashion show is not fucking important at all, but let's just pretend it is for a second, and I am going to go large with it. My thoughts on the latest Victoria's Secret fashion show, going large with it. In a big sense, it represents, stay with me here, where we are as a society right now. Things are cheaply made way worse than they were 10 years ago, but people are trying to lie to us and say, this is the same quality runway or desk or table or glass that you got 10 years ago. And it's not. It's much cheaper, shittier quality. They're charging you the same or more for it. And not just in like accessories and how the scenery looked, but even the girls themselves. The hair was limp. It was dull. It was lifeless. None of them were smiling because we are a society that is now depressed, anxious, upset, and we have microplastics in our testicles. Okay, that was me going large with it. I will say though, didn't things feel a little bit better like 10 years ago? Like when the Victoria's Secret fashion show was in 2013, I rewatched that show recently. That's the one where Taylor Swift and Fall Out Boy were there. And man, don't even get me started on the gala of everything to do with Taylor Swift and the Victoria's Secret Angels. I can't get into it for this episode, but man, does it mean something to me. It was more of a production. The hair was more full. The smiles were happier. And it just kind of seems like things have gone downhill lately. And I'm not saying like the Victoria's Secret is some sort of pulse on how the nation is doing, but I'm also not saying that. So here's one of my main things that I thought about the show. And I put this over on TikTok. It's got over 1 million views. So I think a lot of people were resonating with it. My thought of the Victoria's Secret Angels were that these women, Victoria's Secret models, to me, growing up as a millennial, they were like the pinnacle of beauty. And it was so amazing to watch them and listen to their interviews because these were women who were handpicked all around the world. And you were like, this is the sexiest women in the world. They found them and they kept always finding them in South Africa or Brazil for some reason. But these were them. And you would look at them walk the runway and you would be like, you know what? It makes sense that they're wearing some sort of bra that is encrusted with diamonds and gemstones, and it's a $50 million bra because that's the most symmetrical looking, beautiful, long-legged creature with this bouncy hair and this smile that is like making me feel things. Of course, she is a Victoria's Secret angel. Like Angel is such an apt name, and they found her and I didn't know who she was, but now she's a Victoria's Secret angel. And there was kind of always this level of exclusivity with Victoria's Secret. Like you would watch kind of backstage the auditions, you would see who was the angels, who got the wings and who didn't. And it felt A, exclusive, and B, like something that you had to work towards. And I think when they started slipping is when the Nepos came in. Okay. Do you remember when Kendall Jenner walked on the Victoria's Secret runway? Which, by the way, I'm just going to get bitchy here. Okay. Like whatever, I am. Worst pick ever. Because Candace Swanepoel, she's not like super smiley, right? But she struts and she's sex personified. But for example, Adriana Lima when she walks down the runway and she's pointing to the camera and making the heart sign. And the whole point of the Victoria's Secret fashion shows is that the models would walk down, they would blow a kiss, they would wink, they would be a little bit cheeky. They were always saying words like bum with their accents, shake that bum. And then they would walk back down, and it was flirty. So to put Kendall Jenner, who not only is a Nepo baby who doesn't know how to walk well on the runway, but always has this fucking puss on her face. Like, honestly, anytime I see her, she's like bitching about her anxiety and like in a bad mood or frowning. She's like mad at her family. She's like mad at the public. Like, she's mad at everybody. And that's who you want to be like flirtation and sex personified. Like, Kendall Jenner, sure, she's beautiful. Put her in like a, I don't know, fucking Balenciaga ad or something. Victoria's Secret is supposed to be fun and light and flirty. And Kendall Jenner is not giving me like contagious, flirty vibes. Do you know what I mean? But it's obvious that they put her in there because they wanted these like special names. And it's like, it's not the names. You're supposed to be finding the most beautiful, flirtatious woman across the world. And a lot of people were saying that like these shows used to be something that you were scouted for. And it seemed like now they were just picking big names and being like, hey, could you be a part of the show? Because we need your name to get it back up to its former notoriety. And it just didn't work. People were also saying like it wasn't even a stage that the ladies walked on. It was kind of this like big flat platform. The clothes looked cheap. The sandals and the high heels, all of that looked cheap. There was a moment where Barbara Sprouse, aka Barbara Palvin or Palvine, anyway, she posted a photo on Instagram, and with her shoes, I'll post it here on YouTube if I can find it, her toes were like touching the ground. Like they were just so like, everything just looked cheap. The wings were given out to singers and then models, but then also some not models. It didn't seem like there was a rhyme or reason to it. And the wings also had these like heavy backpack looking straps on them. Like it was just not chic and effortless. And they weren't smiling. And I know I'm going to sound like such an angry, like Republican man right now, but like, honestly, they weren't smiling. A lot of the girls, it almost looked like some drama had happened backstage. Like a lot of them looked a little bit pissed off on stage. There was that one girl who kind of did like this and she didn't really pose, but you could tell that she was a little bit upset. She was also she was this beautiful Asian model and she was the only one without wings. So maybe she was upset about that. But all of the girls had pusses on their face. They weren't really smiling. I think there were maybe 2-3 girls who smiled or winked to the camera. Barbara Palvin, a girl who I don't know, and Adriana Lima, and there was one other girl who did it. But it was not joyous energy. And not only did the outfits look cheap, but even the very first one that Gigi Hadid came up and out in, it was like this kind of Temu Shein looking romper. It just was not good. Another thing too was the models used to sing to the songs. They used to do a little dance. Like Carly Kloss would always kind of do a little dance next to Taylor Swift when she went by her. None of that was happening this year. All right, here's my notes. What I would have done is I would have had new people who are just incredibly symmetrical and it makes your jaw drop to the floor and you found them all across the world. I think that that's really cool. Number 2, I would sell tickets to the show because it is a really cool, fun thing to go to. And maybe you could also sell tickets to an after party. That way you would have way more money so you could up the budget for the show and take it back to this like incredible, fantastic event that it used to be. I know a lot of people would pay like good money to go to the show. So I think that they should do that. I liked how they had fog kind of throughout the stage. I would have more stuff related to that. With like past Victoria's Secret shows, they would have a lot of accessories or like fake shrubbery that would be on the stage or street lamps that would be lining the stage. Something like that to make it seem a little bit, I don't know, just more cool. More winking and more flirting. And then another thing that I noticed is in the newest show, they would show little video clips of the girls backstage, but they didn't have them talk. And that was a big thing that I noticed missing when I watched some of the old shows, because in the old shows, you would have little snippets of the girls running between and having the last makeup touches on before they go out. And you would hear them say things like, oh my God, like I'm so nervous. You would always see Adriana Lima in this beautiful bra, like furiously doing the sign of the cross over and over again before she would go on the stage. And like, all of those things just made you kind of feel like you knew the models and you were there, you were exciting. It was part of it, you know, Candace, go in 3. And then you would see her walk out. It just really added to it. So how much of this was them missing the mark versus their new rebrand as the new Victoria's Secret? So they've done a few things to kind of try and move away from their past scandal. Number one, they rebranded to be more inclusive and more diverse. And this is size, inclusivity, representation, diversity. They also replaced the term angels with activists. That's the worst thing I've ever heard. First of all, don't water down the term activist. If there's anything we learned from Taylor Swift saying that she was a political activist and then doing jack fucking shit for years, it's that the word activist used to mean something and we can't just throw it around to people. Like, that's honestly really disrespectful to people who work in the nonprofit space and dedicate their lives to these causes. Oh, wow. Now we have, I don't know, some sort of diverse model at Victoria's Secret. And did you know that she's an activist just as much as you are? The person who's moved to Costa Rica and has been doing, I don't know, XYZ there for the last 7 years. You guys are the same. It's also such a double slap in the face because, like, Victoria's Secret wasn't doing nothing before this rebrand. They were actively being harmful in a variety of ways. So not to be like, you know, please accept us back. We're going to try and be a normal company with good HR. Instead, they're shooting for the moon and they're being like, we have activists on our team now. No, you don't. Like, you're still a for-profit company that's selling thongs. Like, let's not get it twisted. I just find it wild how so many companies nowadays, they're like, this luggage is not just luggage. It empowers you to travel the world and it will help you with your sense of independence. Like, fuck off. You're already making this price way too high than it should be, and you have horrible customer service, and now you also want to get the kudos of empowering me and helping me with my independence. I would be empowered if you gave me a discount. So anyway, that's annoying, but it's also something that, like, every company seems to be doing now. So the fashion show, of course, they ended the fashion show in 2019, but then they did kind of like a world tour Amazon Prime thing in 2023. And then this year they did the fashion show for real. They also did something called the VS Collective. And this is where they took a group of women from different backgrounds who are going to advise and advertise for the company. So it includes Priyanka Chopra, Megan Rapinoe, is that how you say it? She's like the really big deal women's soccer player. I was confused by this because, you know, I was looking up VS Collective. I think some of the Hadids are in there too. And they were saying what they do, right, is advise and advertise for the company. But I went to almost all of these women's Instagrams, like Megan and Priyanka. There was no advertising for the show or Victoria's Secret in any sense anywhere. And Priyanka Chopra had some sort of like Marshall's brand deal up on her Instagram. So it's not like she doesn't put companies on her Instagram. But I think even that is just a bad taste in the mouth. It's like, Victoria's Secret, are you going to keep your promises? Like, you said that these women were going to, their job, which you're probably paying them, is to advertise for the show and blah, blah, blah. And they're not even doing that for the show that just happened. So how can we trust that you're going to keep your other promises in this rebrand? They say that they created a new board of directors, so it's nearly all women, led by Donna James. That is good, but I don't know if we're seeing it in a sense. So in order to check this out, I went over to their website because after the show, I was like, you know what? Let's see what kind of some of their stuff looks like. I will say something good about their website. They had this section where you could shop the Victoria's Secret fashion show online. And I was like, that's nice. They should have had it for other years. Like, you watch the runway, maybe you want to buy something in it. That should be the point of it. In different fashion shows in years past, there was no way you could buy Miranda Kerr's $20 million bra. But at least now, even though the outfits looked a little bit cheaper on stage, you can buy them. And the items ranged anywhere from like $14 to like $150 on there. So I thought that that was great. However, there wasn't a section for cotton underwear. And look, maybe I'm reading way too much into it, but I just think if you have an all-women board of directors and you have a VS Collective of all women who are advising you on stuff, the number one thing that me and my friends look for is, one, cotton underwear so you don't get a yeast infection, cotton underwear that still looks sexy. And number two, an area that your vagina can sit on. Me and Khloe Kardashian have been trying to get this done for years, okay, if you've ever heard her talk about it. For people who might have a thick vagina, okay, or a wide one, like, why is it that like so many different vaginas, or sorry, not vaginas, thongs, I put them on and it only covers like 60% of the surface area. It could get swallowed up by there. I want a wide one, like a very wide one. And I think everybody says too, like these bikini bottoms must have been made by a man. Like they look so blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at the underwear and I'm like, you really have an entirely all female board of directors and you're making underwear that just like looks so uncomfortable. Anyway, I will say I did see more diversity on the website, much more than Victoria's Secret of the past. And there was also, I don't know what the name of it is, but I was seeing models on the website. I don't know what type of like inclusivity this is, but they had stretch marks, they had scars, they had things like that. And it looked fashionable, which I so appreciate. Because I feel like there's a lot of brands who kind of try to shoehorn in diversity in different ways, but they do it so half-assed that it's almost kind of like a fuck you to the entire program. Like, I remember there was this ad of a man wearing lipstick. It was for like some sort of lipstick makeup company. And before you shit on me, let me finish. He had like a beard. He was like some brunette. He had a beard with red lipstick and it looked terrible. Let me finish, okay? Because the beard wasn't like trimmed. It was kind of nasty. There was like stubble in some places. Like his teeth like weren't perfectly white. There were like different patches here and there. And hot take, maybe, but the ad kind of frustrated me not because I don't think men should be able to wear lipstick or makeup or anything like that. Like I do want to see that diversity. I think anyone should be able to wear lipstick. But it frustrated me because women are expected to be so perfect, on so many different angles, especially if you're a model. And even then, if you're a perfect model, you still get airbrushed within a fucking inch of your life because you're not perfect enough to be this unattainable ideal that like literally no woman can reach. But when I see ads of like men wearing lipstick or nail polish, they get to have like yellow teeth or like patchy stubble, or the nail polish on like these male celebrities can be chipped and people are still like, oh my God, like what an ally, he's wearing nail polish. And it's like something about it just fucking bugs me. And this will come together all the way at the end. I will make my thesis at the end, but I also feel this with other forms of almost diversity, like in the terms of like stretch marks or scars, or like, we all have folds in our stomach when we like hunch over and everything like that. And these are things that are considered not model-like, right? But they're real ass human things that happen to all of us, especially your consumers who are buying the product. And I think what makes something fashionable isn't it being perfectly symmetrical and like stick thin skinny, but I think it's the luxury. I think it's the ambiance. I think it's the lighting. I think it's the angles, all of those things that you can add. So I really hate it when you see like a man in lipstick and his teeth are all yellow. Or you see a model modeling underwear and she has like stretch marks or cellulite, but the lighting is like god awful. It's like public restroom LED lights on it. Because to me, it almost seems like these companies are kind of giving the middle finger to trying to be more inclusive. Do you get what I'm saying? It just to me feels like these companies are saying, okay, fine, damn, here it is. A woman in a bra and she has a hairy armpit and this man is wearing nail polish and the nail polish is fucked up. Like, you happy now? Like, we made it inclusive. And it's like the whole point of people asking for this is not to bring models and fashion down, but to elevate the everyday human experience. So like, let's get a man in lipstick and let's give him the same retouching, sparkle that you give to women. Not egregious, but enough that it like still looks fashionable. And let's do stretch marks and let's have like hairy armpits, or let's have, I don't know, not so far that there's going to be lint in the belly button, but you know what I mean. But let's still have nice lighting on it, and let's still have it be in front of a beach, and all of these other things that make it seem so beautiful. So I think that's to say, yes, Victoria's Secret is making things more inclusive and they're bringing more people into the fold now, but because they're doing it at a time where they don't have the same budget or money or care or tenderness or beautiful stage or diamond encrusted bras, it almost seems like a little bit of a middle finger to inclusivity. Like, it almost seems a little bit of a reprimand. Like, you wanted us to include more people. Okay, I guess our show just like isn't as good now. And it's like, no, you could have made the show just as good. You took away the accessories and things that made it super sexy. And maybe you did that on purpose. Okay, enough of this. Let's get into the gossip, shall we? Right? Now, one thing that I want to say is before we get into all the gossip about the different models, somebody said, I imagine Victoria's Secret models are always hangry, often jet lagged, and commonly feeling objectified. So I don't hold snappishness against them as a key part of their character. I would kind of be pissed off most of the time too. And I'm only saying that because we have a mixture of blind items in here, but also like different stories that people have said online, different Reddit comments, people who say that they've interacted with these models. And anytime somebody's like, I met her once and she seemed like she wasn't good vibes, fuck that. Like, first of all, these models are probably starving themselves all the time. I'm hungry if I don't get food in my mouth the minute I want it. Like I am upset with people in like a raging way if I'm hungry at all. So I just kind of took all of those blind items out because they don't hold a lot of weight to me. All right, so since we did our last Victoria's Secret episode, new blind items that have come out. There was one allegedly about Pete Davidson. It says, this former late night actor is hooking up with a married Victoria's Secret model. And I put his name in with a bunch of the different Victoria's Secret angels who are married, and I couldn't find anything. So if he is or was hooking up with a married Victoria's Secret model, I don't think that she would have been an angel. Or sorry, an activist. An activist. There was one about Madonna's daughter, Lourdes Leon. She was at the Victoria's Secret tour event in September 2023, and she showed up on the pink carpet in this kind of sparkly see-through string dress with a thong underneath it for the event. And the blind item says, this again permanent A-list singer, Madonna, keeps forcing one of her offspring to model. The offspring hates it, but doesn't want to be cut off financially. She doesn't have a rich other parent that she can go to. This is a Victoria's Secret from years past. She was a Victoria's Secret angel from 1998 to the year 2000. Her name is Letitia Casta. And she now, I believe, mostly acts. I think she's French and she has some sort of acting career now. I believe that she was also in the Rihanna Te Amo music video. But this is a blind that says, this former born Victoria's Secret model likes to tell a tale of how she was discovered when she was underage on family holiday at age 15. It is right out of a movie, except that isn't what happened. A modeling scout for Victoria's Secret discovered her and passed her to the guy who was recently fired. He promised her a job if she would have sex with him. She did, and he gave her the job. Now, first of all, I really hate these blind items that talk about anyone like passing. They always use the verbs like, she was passed, he passed her to the guy, she was being passed around. And it's like, first of all, if we're talking about trafficking, let's say that it is trafficking. You know what I mean? It's just kind of weird to read about it in a salacious way like that. The story of her getting scouted is true. I mean, it's right there in her Wikipedia, right? So she was discovered by a photographer allegedly during a family holiday at age 15. And then she went on to do acting after she did modeling, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if this blind item is true, but I just do know that after everything, once again, that we talked about in that Epstein and Victoria's Secret episode, it just seems like the most nefarious stuff was going on with the company. So maybe it is true. Adriana Lima, or Adriana, or Adriana, I've heard it pronounced different ways. We talked about her a little bit in the first episode that we did, but something that I think is really interesting is like just how much virginity was linked to sexiness back in the early 2000s. I mean, we saw this, of course, with the Disney Channel stars and their purity rings. We saw this with people arguing about whether or not Britney Spears was a virgin in the early 2000s. And we also saw this with Adriana Lima. So she did this April 2006 GQ cover, and it was the highest selling issue of the magazine for that year, which is kind of crazy looking back on it, because I know that GQ was always like, it's for men, like this is a magazine of sexy women, and we talk about men's stuff on here and guys can buy it. Nobody really buys magazines anymore. And I also just feel like even now, like if GQ was a thing and you knew a guy who like bought every issue of GQ, don't you think that it would be such a big ick? Like, I don't know, like back then it's like, oh yeah, GQ is a sexy magazine. And now it's like, oh my God, if I saw a guy buying it, like I would be so icked out. So I wonder if they've been going just like super downhill because things have been changing so much. But anyway, back in 2006, her being on the cover was like really, really good for the magazine. The magazine named her the world's most voluptuous virgin. And she did this interview with GQ where she was basically saying that she's a devout Roman Catholic. She goes to Mass every Sunday. And then she also said that she was a virgin. Quote, "Sex is for after marriage. Men have to respect that this is my choice. If there's no respect, that means that they don't want me." She also denounced abortion as a crime and then said that she agrees with all of the church's teachings. Now, there is an Adriana Lima Tumblr account that I found, and they had screenshots of this. Apparently, in 2022, she posted images on her Instagram story of a sign at a protest that said, "Pro-life would be regulating this with a drawing of a gun, not this with a drawing of a uterus." And then she reposted something from BBC News about contraceptive mini pills being sold over the counter at the UK. And she wrote next to it on her Instagram story, "Next step is to be free for woman." She used the wrong tense. That wasn't me saying it wrong for the first time. And then she also posted another thing on her Instagram story saying, "Time zones are crazy. In Australia, it's 9 a.m. In Rome, it's 1 a.m. And in America, it's 1942, where minorities and women are still controlled by white old men." So it seems kind of like she's changed her mind on this. She was kind of criticized again about her views on abortion, and her publicist released a statement in March 2023 stating, quote, "We can proudly say that Ms. Lima has been promoting a healthy lifestyle for several years, and like many people, her position on many LGBTQIA plus and women issues has evolved, and she is considered an ally." But she herself hasn't issued any sort of official stance on this. I also do think that's funny because it's like, what, like you're like an ally to abortion? Like, I don't know what that means. So I think it's nice that she posted that stuff on her story. I think her posting it on her story means that she probably has changed her mind. However, until she corrects the record on anything, a lot of people are assuming that she's still very pro-life, and her quotes are being used on these websites, the AmericanRenewalProject.org or Catholic.net. She's on that website underneath their role models section. So it kind of seems a little bit like playing to both sides right now. I don't know. There was a blind item, once again, of course, about her virginity saying that, I don't think this is true, but it says, "This former Victoria's Secret model auctioned off her virginity for 7 figures. The guy who paid was none the wiser that she had been sleeping with her boyfriend for 2 years." I don't know. To me, virginity is like, I remember before, like back when I was a virgin, and like I thought about my virginity so much, like the hymen and is it gonna hurt, and like I'm a virgin, like not being a like it matters a lot when you're young, and then you get older and you're like, you don't really give a whoop about it, you know? I mean, obviously, you know, you want to be respectful. You want to lose it at the time that's right for you. But I really just think obsessing over virginity is a very inherently male thing. So there was a model, Isabelle someone, and she went on a podcast, and the podcast, I believe, was in Spanish, but a few people translated it, and they were trying to get the T in it because there was like a few sentences that this model said, basically saying that she had been close with Giselle and Adriana in like 2005, 2006, and she perceived a little bit of a rivalry between them. So people were talking about that. A few people online were saying that it seems like they both tried to hit on Tom Brady, so maybe they don't like each other because of that. But the Tom Brady thing would be recent, and this former model, or I think she's still a model, said that this rivalry happened back in the early 2000s. So I don't think that that would have happened. Were they maybe a little bit competitive? Maybe. You're coworkers, you know, you're kind of always a little bit competitive. Okay, Candace Swanepoel. I talked about her previously in the last episode. I don't think we read her blind items because I just love her so much. Like, her voice is how I discovered that I experience ASMR. So she's just like so special to me. I just think she's so sweet. She has gotten either 1 or 2 nose jobs before. If you look at before and after pictures, I think it's really interesting. She used to have much more of like a softer, rounder type of nose, and now it's like a little bit more straight and angular. So there we go. Somebody was telling a story online that her friend met her on a set, that she was really nice and quiet. And then she said that she overheard Candace talking about her ex. There was this guy that Candace had been with for, I think that they were married. I don't know, but she had been with him for like, I think over a decade. They had 2 kids together. She's from South Africa. He's from Brazil. She moved over to Brazil to be with him. She learned Portuguese for him. I think she's really big fan of Brazilian culture, and he ended up cheating on her recently. So they're no longer together. But this person online said that back when they were still together, she overheard Candace on this set talking about, the father of her children. And she was talking about him cheating. Allegedly, blah, blah, blah. This person said he is a huge scumbag. He's from Brazil, and everyone in his town knew that he was cheating on her and would talk so much shit about him, going to clubs and going home with girls, etc., etc. It makes me so sad for her. They were together for over a decade. Men suck. Somebody said too, I used to know a guy in LA who had very explicit nudes of her, Candace Swanepoel, and apparently he was not the only one that she would send them all to. And apparently this is when she was in a relationship with that guy, Herman Nicoli. So it seems like it wasn't an open type of relationship, but maybe I could imagine that happens. You know that your partner is egregiously cheating on you, so you send some incredibly hot nudes of your body to other people. I couldn't not see myself doing that if I was in her shoes, Now, we do have a few blind items because remember when it seemed like she was dating Kanye West, but people were like, no, they're doing business together. And then it was like, really? They're doing business together? There's a blind item here that says, the only reason this A-list rapper found a different model to date is because he is tired of the muse/drug addict, Julia Fox, constantly using his name. And this was a little bit confusing for everyone. There were all of these different news articles saying Candace Swanepoel and Kanye West are dating. Just kidding. They're not dating. Just kidding. They are dating. They were mingling at a New York Fashion Week, but then a bunch of sources said that they were just doing it for business. They have a business relationship. Quote, they are together for promotional stuff for his Yeezy line. They collaborate well together and they bond over fashion. Anything beyond a working relationship is not true. They are not involved romantically. She's another one of his muses. To me, being someone's muse inherently is a little bit romantic, so that sentence kind of falls in on itself. It is a little bit confusing because before she was kind of being seen with Kanye West, she had done a Skims ad with Kim Kardashian. So that seems a little bit weird if they actually were dating. She was the face of his Yeezy Gap sunglasses, and this was before he lost his partnership with Gap. She posed like topless with, it kind of looked like her head was shaved and she's in the glasses. I mean, look, the stuff that Yeezy does is just a little bit ridiculous in my opinion. So my whole thing is, even if it was a business relationship and they were just working together on something for Yeezy, as we talked about in last week's episode about the newest allegations against Kanye West, apparently he's sleeping with all of his Yeezy employees. And one of his ex-employees said that the Yeezy offices were a, quote, sexual playground. So I feel like that's kind of a way to be true, but also not true about something like, oh, no, we're just doing business together. We're working on Yeezy stuff. And then you go into the Yeezy offices and it's like a giant orgy is happening, So I don't know. Another thing that we talked about in the previous Kanye West episode is that his ex-employee would be sent by Kanye videos of him having sex with multiple people, and there were at least 2 videos of Kanye having sex with a famous model. And I think some people are saying now, was that Candace Swanepoel? Now, Kanye is not the only famous man who has kind of been linked to dating Candace Swanepoel, because about a year ago, do you remember this? Dumois said that there were rumors that Candace Swanepoel and Harry Styles were dating. Some people said this kind of made sense. I mean, she is his type. He likes a hot woman who is older than him and also a mother, so she kind of fits the bill. Apparently, when he performed at Victoria's Secret fashion show years ago, they had followed each other when he performed at that fashion show. And a few months before this rumor came out, she had used one of Harry Styles' songs in one of her TikToks. What else is interesting to me is that this rumor came out a little bit after the time when Harry Styles was seen kissing Emrata really sloppily in Europe. If you saw the images, you know what I'm talking about. They were kind of like making out full force, like against a car somewhere in Europe. Anyway, I just think that that's interesting because Emrata is kind of also tied into the Victoria's Secret universe. So after the most recent Victoria's Secret fashion show happened, Emrata went onto her Instagram and she posted these, Emrata type of Instagrams that she's known for, where it's a picture of her playing Scrabble with a rosary. No, I'm just kidding. She's naked. Like that's what she's always posting, but it's like a kind of artistic naked. Sometimes it's not. I will never get over the photos of her with Eric Andre, was it? on Valentine's Day where they like kind of posted themselves naked on Instagram. And it's not that being naked is bad. It's not that having sex is bad. It's not even that looking for clout is bad. It's that the apartment looked so disgusting. Oh God, like I just felt like I could smell the photo. You know what I mean? It was not giving sexy, but you can tell that she kind of thinks she should be giving sexy because she posted these kind of like naked photos on Instagram after the Victoria's Secret fashion show happened. And a lot of people were like, she's probably upset that she wasn't in the show. And apparently last year, she had the model Winnie Harlow on her podcast. And when Winnie started talking about the Victoria's Secret fashion show, Emrata kind of was trying to imply that like she was an angel too, even though she famously has never been hired by Victoria's Secret. So people are saying online that it seems like Emrata has some sort of hang up about not being a part of Victoria's Secret and wanting to be a part of it and like blah, blah, blah. I could totally believe that. Yeah, I could totally believe that. Anyway, okay, let's move on to the next person. Jasmine Tooks, I think is how you say her last name. She was really big on TikTok back when it like started in like 2020, 2021. I remember following her and she made really good TikToks. Look, if you can lip sync and you're the most beautiful woman on earth, of course you're going to be good at TikTok. She's so redonkulously beautiful. People say really good things about her all over the internet. They say that she's the sweetest. Quote, I met her at a brand event. She truly was so kind to every person she met and just sparked up casual conversation. She also reposted anyone who took a photo with her, which I know is silly, but many people with that amount of followers don't because of their ego. Blah, blah, blah. There was a really funny thing. You guys might know if you're into this podcast, Lipstick Alley. It's kind of like gossip that mostly focuses on like Black celebrities, models, etc. But sometimes they have like blind items on there. So I'll look at a few of the threads. But apparently people were talking about her dad on one of the threads on Lipstick Alley. And they were like, A, like what's her father's ethnicity? And B, like what's his job? To basically be like, is she rich? Like, does she come from money or something? And they say that her father started commenting in there. You can't prove that it's her dad. Like it could be someone who is pretending to be her dad, but I don't know why somebody would do that. But it seems like when you read the thread that her dad made an account and started commenting A, what his ethnicity was, B, how he wasn't a deadbeat, and then C, trying to link people to his Instagram and like follow him on Instagram. So of course it could have been someone faking it, but goddamn, if that was her father, that was embarrassing. Anyway, she's very close to Miranda Kerr, the beautiful, we obviously covered her in the first Victoria's Secret episode. And there's a little bit of a Snapchat connection as well with the Victoria's Secret model. So Miranda Kerr, I think, she ended up marrying like the founder of Snapchat, Evan Spiegel, I think his name is. Obviously, he's loaded. He's like one of the first founders of Snapchat. And Jasmine herself, she ended up marrying someone who's also part of Snapchat. So maybe they met through Miranda or something like that. Jasmine married this guy, I think his name is Juan David Borrero, if that's how you call it. He's the director of international markets at Snap. And I think his dad is also the VP of Ecuador, something like that, something money focused. And I just think it's interesting because Snapchat is somehow still making money. We have to do a conspiracy episode about Snapchat. The amount of things, if you like create a new Snapchat account and you go onto the explore page, keep in mind who uses Snapchat? Younger people, right? Or, you know, sex addicts or people who are buying drugs, in my experience. Okay. Usually it's young people. And the amount of things on the explore page are so sexualized. It has to be due for a conspiracy episode one of these days. I think that's how they're making a lot of their money. But anyway, people were saying that these guys obviously are very rich because they were one of the first founders of Snapchat. And I actually, back in New York, dated someone. We went on like a few dates and he was like one of the first 10 people to work at Snapchat. And then he ended up retiring at the age of like, I don't know, 29 or something. When I tell you those people who first like started working for Snapchat have so much money, just so much money. Obviously, it did not work out with me and that guy. We went on like 2 awkward dates. And then I went to one of his house parties and it was very sad. It was very like Great Gatsby. Like there were a bunch of people at the party who he didn't even know, and he had like all of the best catering and food and booze and stuff like that, but you could tell he was just trying to impress people. I got hammered. I went from bathroom to bathroom because the floors and the toilet seats were all heated, and I was like, this is so nice. I'm never going to feel like a heated toilet seat ever again. So that's what I spent most of the party doing. And then somebody stole my purse. Isn't that crazy? You would think if you're going to like a rich person's house, like it's going to be full of rich people who wouldn't steal your items, but they stole my purse. Somebody did, because I had like left it where all the purses were. And my EpiPen was in there. My license was in there. My keys were in there. Everything was in there. He didn't give a rat's ass that my purse was stolen. And it was a bad experience overall. All right, on to the next model, Nina Agdal. You might know of her because she is the fiance of Logan Paul. That's right, the YouTuber. But there's a lot of different people. You know how I said that like Snapchat is kind of involved in the Victoria's Secret multiverse? Well, you know who else is? Adam Levine. He's dated like so many different Victoria's Secret models. Obviously, he married Beate Prinsloo. We talked about her in the first Victoria's Secret episode. He then cheated on her. Very obviously, we know about this. But one of the women that he kind of had overlap with before he proposed to Beate was Nina Agdal. She's been a Victoria's Secret model. She, I believe, is this like Danish model. She does a lot of Sports Illustrated stuff. She has this redonkulous body, and she has dated tons of people. She dated Adam Levine for a bit. She dated Leonardo DiCaprio for a full year. They traveled the world together. They were about to do like all of this stuff. They ended up breaking up. And now she is engaged to and just had a baby with Logan Paul. So you could say how the mighty have fallen, but it kind of seems like what people say about her. Quote, I have mutual friends with Nina and she's a huge social climber. Will fuck anyone to get connections. Literally dated the son of a supermodel just so the mom could help Nina's modeling career. Quick insert from myself. That's kind of a good idea though, isn't it? I mean, my God. And then somebody replied and said, Jack, a sweet, if slightly douchey little nugget. We went to acting school together and he was obsessed with her before they got together. He was so happy when he bagged her and then absolutely heartbroken when she dumped him. Maybe this is bad of me, but when I read stuff about that, about a woman, I kind of like it. Like it's kind of giving man-eater. It's kind of giving honeypot spy. You know what I mean? Like obviously I could never do it myself, but sometimes, I don't know, it's a little bit fun to read. After all, this is gossip, so it could be pure fiction. Now, her dating Leonardo DiCaprio was not fiction, though. They dated for about a year. And not only did they travel all these places together, they were very touchy, more so than he typically is. And a lot of sources thought that, quote, his relationship with Agdal might be different this time because he apparently thought, quote, Nina was a super cool girl, and, quote, because he was way more affectionate and public with her than he normally is with other women that he dates. Now, apparently they split up after a year because Leonardo DiCaprio was not ready to settle down and, quote, just isn't in the mindset to get married or have kids, implying that perhaps Nina had a desire for those things, which put him off. And Leonardo DiCaprio himself does also have a little bit of a connection with the Victoria's Secret multiverse, right? He dated Erin Heatherton, and somebody says that they have a former BFF who was tight with Erin during the Leo breakup. It's true. He's lazy as fuck in bed and does absolutely no work at all. But now she is with Logan Paul. They're actually not married yet, but they are engaged. And of course, like every single thing about their relationship, he has monetized the ever-living fuck out of. When he proposed to her, he made it some sort of like Polaroid moment where like a Polaroid camera shot went off the minute he proposed to her. And then it was also being filmed for a YouTube vlog. And then like the Polaroid was also to promote like another Polaroid thing he was doing, which like I would fucking kill my boyfriend if he did that to me. I would kill him. It didn't seem like she was super psyched about it, but I guess when you're with Logan Paul, like that's the gig. And then she recently gave birth to, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, but they had a child and they're like setting up, they're like in the delivery room, getting ready for her to go into labor. And Logan Paul has Prime, his like energy drink, all around the delivery room. And then also some sort of like Lunchable thing that they're doing as well that he's selling. And he's like filming a vlog and he's like, Nina's about to go into labor, but like I have my prime. So like I'm ready for it. And she apparently was in the background like, yeah, woo, like drink that prime. So I guess she's fucking in it to win it. But once again, I would kill my husband. Although I shouldn't say husband because they're actually not married. They are just engaged and they now have a child. And I don't know why, but when I saw that, something in my butt and in my gut just told me, I don't know if they're going to be getting married. We'll see. Okay, Barbara Palvin, aka Barbara Sprouse, because she has married Dylan Sprouse. Some people say Palvin, some people say Palvin. We're just going to say Barbara Sprouse. There is something about Barbara Sprouse. She's been a Victoria's Secret model for a while. She's been a model. I think she was scouted at age 13. There is something so redonkulous about her where like, of course, all of these women are beautiful, but you know how I was saying like Kendall Jenner is beautiful, but it's like a severe type of beauty. It's like not like a friendly beauty. Barbara can do it all. Like she looks sexy, but then she also smiles and she looks so nice. And there's so much content of her and Dylan together, like dancing and doing interviews and being cute and just like supporting each other. And like, I am never not going to want to go down a rabbit hole of watching like an hour of all of the different clips of them. They're married now. I think they've been together for like 6+ years. She just seems like an absolute sweetie pie of a person, but she's also ridiculously gorgeous. And she has been linked to so many men. God, I kind of want to do an entire episode about her, but you know what? Maybe I will. Maybe that'll be the mini for this week. Okay, so I'll just tell the Victoria's Secret tea and then everything else that I put together, we'll have that in a mini episode later on this week. Okay, this is what people were saying. Back in the day, Victoria's Secret allegedly was going to make Barbara Palvin an angel years ago, but they dropped her because she gained weight. They only brought her back so people couldn't say that they only hire skinny models. Many people and angels at Victoria's Secret tortured Barbara for her weight, would call her a cow to her face and ignore her backstage. Just awful stuff. Remember that. Which is also insane. I think that's one of the things, like being a millennial and having grown up in the early 2000s, like being skinny was like being a 00 or a 0 was considered like normal, and anything over that was considered plus size. Like it actually is like staggering just how fucked up things were back then. I mean, you look at Barbara Powell, like she's a model. She's incredibly skinny. So it's really hard to hear these stories. I can't even imagine what it was like back there. But she just gives such good vibes to me. And they were interviewing girls backstage and she was kind of the only one with a good answer. Like they asked her in the damn year of 2024, oh, like what are you going to indulge in after the show? And she was like, look, like during the old shows, like Dylan once brought me Shake Shack because I used to really restrict myself, but I don't anymore. Like I listen to my body, I eat what I want, and I look better than ever. And it was just such a good response. And I'm so shocked that like after all of the rebranding and the scandals, they even allowed somebody to ask her that. But maybe they had somebody ask her that on purpose so she could give the good answer and be like, we're the new Victoria's Secret, you know? Okay, yeah, we'll have to do a mini episode on her because I pulled a lot of this about like all of the different men that she's been linked to over the years, the alleged drama between her and Selena Gomez and her and Justin Bieber and all of that stuff. But if you want my TLDR on her, and then obviously we'll do the mini later, I think she has a very true, honest love with Dylan Sprouse because, and I don't mean this to be shady, she could be with anyone in the world. Like she's been pictured with, what's that thing? A Formula One race car driver, One Direction star, Justin Bieber, Leonardo DiCaprio, like all of these different people. And Dylan Sprouse, like no shade, but like he is not the richest, most famous, sexiest out of all of, you know, these entertainment men that you could pick. Like she has had, I don't want to say relations because that sounds like she fucked someone, but like she has had interactions with like really big names and she ended up marrying Dylan Sprouse. So I just think that like they really love each other. You can just, if you haven't yet gone on TikTok and typed in like Barbara Dylan Sprouse, watch some of their interactions and you'll also enjoy it. There's just something about them. Okay, real quick, the Nepo Angels. This is something I want to talk about because we kind of have the nepotism models, right? We have Gigi and Bella Hadid for Victoria's Secret. We have Kendall Jenner, and we have maybe some other people as well, but people were saying this, quote, The first year that Kendall and Gigi walked the show, the non-Nepotism models weren't having it at all and bullied them backstage. The only specific instance I can remember is models putting out cigarettes in Kendall Jenner's drink. And then somebody commented underneath that and said, Kendall could have used her conflict resolution Pepsi back then, huh? Somebody else said someone said that once they were backstage at a Victoria's Secret fashion show and they saw Kendall Jenner face-tuning a photo of herself. Ha ha. Yeah, I could totally believe that. And this is not exactly Nepo, but it's a little bit about Kendall Jenner and Gigi Hadid and Karlie Kloss, okay? Someone says, very stale, extremely third-hand tea, and I haven't fact-checked any of this, but my sister is friends with a girl who is friends with Karlie Kloss. This would have been maybe the fall of 2015, winter of 2016. She said that Karlie would drink and shit-talk the entire squad, saying that it was mostly a PR stunt. I guess Kendall Jenner and Gigi Hadid shared a manager when they were first getting started modeling. Karlie told this girl that the manager basically had a 2-for-1 deal. If you wanted Gigi, you needed to book Kendall too. She apparently shaded Kendall constantly, which seemed mean because I felt like she was just a child at that time. I don't follow any of these people, so I don't know the timelines, but the next time I saw my sister's friend, she was talking about how suddenly Karlie and Taylor were not friends, and Karlie was besties with Kendall. So I guess the tea is that Karlie Kloss was or is messy, and my sister needs better friends. Yeah, people talk about Nina Agdal and like her being a clout chaser and sleeping her way to the top. If that's true, then Karlie Kloss is friendship sleeping her way to the top. Like, I know we all, and look, like I love Taylor. I love the idea of her and Taylor Swift having dated. Like the pictures of them were so cute. But after they stopped being friends, I would watch Karlie Kloss's vlogs on YouTube to try to get like a feel for her vibe and everything. And to me, it was just not giving sincere. It was giving friendship clout chaser. That was just my vibe. Okay, just my vibe. Now, once again, Taylor Swift is also in the Victoria's Secret multiverse. I'm not even trying to bring her up, okay? She is just related to all of this stuff. But you might know of Jessica Hart as the Victoria's Secret model that had beef with Taylor Swift. So Jessica Hart, I believe, walked the runway at the 2013 Victoria's Secret show. That was the one where Taylor was singing with Fall Out Boy and she wore that little British outfit with the little British top hat. Why was it so British? Like, why was she all decked out in British gear for that one? Because I don't think the girls were walking in like British lingerie or anything. Anyway, whatever. It's just something that I think about from time to time. So at that show's after party, Jessica Hart was asked by a reporter, do you think that Taylor Swift could pull it off as a Victoria's Secret model? And she said, quote, no. I think, you know what? God bless her heart. Bless her heart. She wants to kill her. Bless her heart is such an obvious like shade, but whatever. She continues. I think she's great, but I don't know. To me, she didn't fit. I don't know if I should say that. I think what you find is that for a lot of us, we've been working for 14, 15 years. What it takes to make it here comes from experience and confidence and knowing how to be confident with yourself. I think it comes with age. It's definitely the benchmark of all jobs. Now, I could see that both ways, right? In one instance, it's shady to Taylor Swift. Just the sentence alone, bless her heart, is shady. And then also saying like she didn't fit as a Victoria's Secret model, especially because when so many people saw that show, they were like, Taylor should be a model too. Like, my God, she's so skinny and blonde and like pretty on the stage. She's the same height as all the other girls, you know? But also, I kind of agree with Jessica Hart. Like Taylor, yeah, sure, she's very tall, she's very skinny, she's very blonde, but a Victoria's Secret model, once again, I'm going to say the same point up at the top. I want them to be a little bit of sex personified, and I want them to be flirty, and I want them to be cheeky, and I want them to be like, look at my bum. And with Taylor Swift, I get good work ethic, wide eyes, surprised shock face, and not going to show you my belly button for years, you know? And to me, that's just, Taylor Swift doesn't really read as like a sexual creature to me. And Kendall Jenner does not as well either. This is something I'm going to have to ponder on. So while I think that, you know, Jessica Hart's quote could have been a little bit shady, I also get what she's saying. Now, allegedly, she told this reporter and it was kind of low key, like off the record. Like she didn't think that it was going to end up in an article, but it did. And everybody freaked the fuck out. So then she had to backtrack because everybody was like, you were being shady to Taylor Swift. So she went to Us Weekly and she said, quote, "I adore Taylor Swift, and I was so excited to be with her at the Victoria's Secret fashion show. What Taylor does on stage is nothing compared to what we do. I can never get up there and do what she does. She is a true rock star, and she absolutely killed it the other night. Her song Fearless was one of my favorite songs, and I own her first ever CD. I can't imagine why I would have said anything bad about her." I think that's nice, and Fearless is a great song. And yeah, she was probably, I mean, first of all, let's just be so fucking for real. Like, every single person has said something bad about someone, somewhere, sometime. Don't we all? Like, I say, I don't want to out myself, but even myself, I say bad things about myself, and then I go, no, actually, I kind of like that about myself. It's just an opinion. Like, my God. Anyway. She then told Vogue Australia that her remark, quote, "was taken out of context, but I have certainly learned my lesson." And then Victoria's Secret CMO Ed Razek told Us Weekly, quote, "I have personally been in contact with Jessica Hart, and she said she was wildly misinterpreted and that she thought Taylor was amazing. She is stunned that anyone would think differently, and that's something we can all agree on." Now, however, apparently Taylor Swift didn't like it because there are allegations that she allegedly specified that Jessica Hart not be allowed back in 2014 as a sign-on condition for her to do the Victoria's Secret fashion show again. So it seems like Jessica Hart has been a little bit salty because of all of this. So apparently years after this happened, she posed in this sweater that said, "fuck Taylor Swift." That's what people said, but I looked at the sweater and it didn't say that. It was a weird sweater, and on it was like stitched. The first line said, 4 letters, bad word, Taylor Swift. I don't know what the fuck that means, but basically it's something against Taylor Swift. And she posted on the grid 3 different images of her wearing that like anti-Taylor Swift sweater, which is kind of weird. What's even stranger is that Rosie Huntington Whiteley, she was the model that was in Transformers, and she was also a Victoria's Secret model. She liked the photo. So it seems like there's some beef there. I don't know. Just interesting, isn't it? Okay, the next model, Aman Hammam. She is a Victoria's Secret model. I think she's been with Victoria's Secret for a few years. Once again, everyone who meets her says that she's very kind, super humble. The tea on her is that she was sleeping with Drake for a little bit back in the day. Apparently, he was paparazzi'd leaving her apartment in New York City. One morning, they were also photographed together at an event once, and it was rumored that he ended up kind of breaking up with her, and she would like post Instagram stories like wearing his merch with like his music playing in the background. So I think a lot of people were like, "Girl, stand up, like it's Drake," you know? It seems like they had a nasty fallout. Apparently she had him blocked at one point, but then they recently made up. Speaking of Drake, obviously he is also a part of the Victoria's Secret multiverse. Apparently there was a moment where he was out at a club and Rome Stride, she's this beautiful Victoria's Secret model. She didn't walk in the show this year, but she's really big on YouTube. I think she's like Danish or Dutch or something. She has like long blonde hair. She has had a serious boyfriend that she's been with since like forever. And a lot of people are scandalized because I think when they met, he was her friend's brother, and he was like 19 and she was 15, and they used to, I don't know, she had a crush on him because he would like walk her home after school or something like that, right? Anyway, they've been together since forever, basically. But apparently they were at the same club, and Drake had someone from his entourage go up to Rome and ask her to come sit with him. And apparently she declined, and she thought it was really weird that he didn't ask her herself. Because yeah, it is fucking weird that he's not going to ask her herself. Anyway, back to Aman. She was dating Zoe Kravitz's ex-husband, Carl Glusman, for a while. I believe they might still be dating, but they were dating for at least over a year. People noticed that they would like post pictures at the exact same places on their Instagram stories, so they kind of like put it together and blah, blah, blah. Now, Beate Prinsloo, we already talked about her and Adam Levine in the first episode, and we did an entire episode all about Adam Levine and Beate. If you just type those names somewhere, you'll be able to find the public episode. We know about him cheating on her, the Sumner incident, everything like that. But I will just say, in my research of all the Victoria's Secret models, there were hundreds of stories of him sucking hardcore. People were like, Adam was in my friend's Instagram DMs a few months ago while posting tons of pics with Beati and their kids. He was asking her for photos and added her to his private Snapchat. Snapchat, it comes back in once again. This is what I'm saying. People who use Snapchat are either children, buying drugs, or perverts, So Adam Levine, private Snapchat. Oh God, it's just like such an ick. It's ickier than a man buying a GQ magazine to me. Anyway, this person continues. It was honestly insane because I thought their marriage was good, but it totally changed my perspective. Somebody else said, my friend met Adam Levine once. She said he was an asshole and that he said something about his assistant blowing him or something like that. But yeah, oddly enough, they're still together. So he just seems like he sucks, doesn't he? All right, so that's it. I think we're going to do a mini on Barbara because I felt a little something special watching all of her videos, and I'm sure you might too. And we can find out about her relationship with Dylan Sprouse and how different Dylan is from Cole Sprouse. So what's next for Victoria's Secret? I think they were saying that they're definitely going to do the fashion show again next year. I feel like they're probably going to keep going the same way that they've been going, where they're going to have Nepo babies and influencers on the stage and things like that. And I think next year they probably will amp up the budget a little bit more and maybe bring back like the bouncy blowouts. But to me, the main thing that Victoria's Secret did so well was A, having the angels, not the activists, and 2, having it be these unknown, beautiful creatures from around the world, because I think they look at Kendall Jenner or some sort of influencer model, and they're like, oh, great, they'll bring name and recognition to Victoria's Secret. But what they need to understand is if they really hone in on their brand, the brand will give other people recognition. And then that person will be like, when I think of Candace Swanepoel, I only think of Victoria's Secret. Whereas when I think of Kendall Jenner, I think of her TV show, The Kardashians. It's not the other way around. So we'll see what ends up happening with them. Will they continue to lose money? Will this revamp kind of help them? It'll be interesting to see. So let me know what you thought about the show this year and what you think about the models. And I will probably see you on Wednesday for a mini episode about Barbara Sprouse. So thank you for hanging out with me. If you want to check out any more episodes, patreon.com/fluentlyforward. We just did one this past Friday with Cam, from what I will say. And it was all about niche fetishes that we've always been interested in. When you sit on a balloon and it pops and people get turned on by that, or the inflation fetish, or the woman who married the Eiffel Tower, which it turns out is not a fetish, but actually a sexual orientation. And we talked about the giantess fetish, how it's so popular, and how pop stars like Lana Del Rey and Taylor Swift might be using that fetish in their music videos, for the Doing Time music video and the Anti-Hero music video, where they make themselves really, really big women who are walking around. And did you know that in 2023, that was the most popular fetish looked up on the internet? Isn't that interesting? Kind of a good idea for a music video to low-key tie in one of these most popular fetishes on the internet to your internet music video. So anyway, if you want to check that out and way more episodes, new episodes every week over on patreon.com/fluentlyforward. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I will see you soon for another mini episode of Fluently Forward. Bye.